Hey y'all, welcome to Prepper Friday. I'm Madden from Self-Reliance Publishing, and in this video we're going to be talking about barter after a collapse. Now, I've seen a lot of articles, YouTube videos, blog posts and whatnot online about different items that you should stock ahead of time for barter purposes in a collapse scenario. Now, these articles will have things listed like lighters, 22 long rifle ammunition, and stuff like that. But I disagree with most of these articles for a couple of reasons. The primary reason that I don't think that you should stock stuff for bartering purposes is that costs money today, and that takes up space today. And I'm a firm believer that if you prep correctly, it shouldn't take a whole lot of additional disposable income, and it's going to take some extra space if you stock food and have equipment and stuff, but it shouldn't get in the way of your normal everyday life to a great extent. It should be a lifestyle that you live, and to a certain extent you should center your lifestyle and your activities and stuff around prepping and a self-sufficient lifestyle, but it shouldn't cost a whole lot of money. And if you go out and you buy thousands upon thousands of lighters just for bartering purposes, I think you're missing the point. And because you're taking up disposable income that could go to better purposes. It could go to fund your retirement. It could go to fund a business. It could go to other, in my opinion at least, better preps. On top of that, those items just aren't useful in today's current economy, and obviously I believe there's a potential for a collapse to occur in my lifetime. That's why I have these Prepper Friday videos. If I didn't believe that, all I would have would be the Homesteading Monday and Bushcraft Wednesday. But I do believe that there's a potential for a collapse to occur at some point in my lifetime, and I believe that it is prudent for myself and others to think about that and prepare for that in the event that that does happen. However, there's also a good possibility that a collapse never occurs in our lifetime. It will come eventually, but maybe not in our lifetime, maybe not in our kids' lifetime. Nobody knows. So I don't think that it is a wise use of resources to tie up a lot of money in something that might or might not be beneficial to us in our lifetime. The other problem that I have with buying stuff for bartering purposes after a collapse is it's a finite resource. Nobody knows how much a lighter is going to be worth after a collapse. Nobody knows how long you're going to need to barter before a normal currency comes back into play. And so assuming there is a collapse and currency no longer has value and we are bartering for things, you're a step ahead of the game if you've stocked up on 22 long rifle, lighters, and pocket knives and other things that you can use for barter. But you might run out. You never know how long that's going to last. So those are two reasons why I don't believe it's a good idea to buy stuff for bartering purposes after a collapse scenario. So let's talk about some things that I think would make good barter items. So there's going to be basically two classes of things that you can barter. One's going to be your knowledge and skills that you trade in the form of a service of some sort or the other. And the other is a renewable resource. So when you're looking at these skills and renewable resources, you're going to want to consider what you're interested in today's economy. What are some things, when it comes to skills, for example, think about what you do for a profession. Think about what you do for hobbies and activities, and see if there's some sort of practical application of that. If you can tweak those skills and knowledge that you already have to be viable in a collapse scenario. So an example of that would be, say my girlfriend's going to nursing school. So she'll be a nurse soon enough, and she's got knowledge of how the body works and how medicine works. And that is going to be as useful after a collapse as it is today. Obviously today there is a need for healthcare, and that's not going away after a collapse. So if you are in the medical profession, say you're a nurse, a doctor, EMT, or something of the sort, a pharmacist, you have some sort of background in medicine, you can tweak that knowledge that you already have from your profession and start looking into alternative medicines. Say you're a carpenter. Carpentry is a valuable skill now, and it would be a valuable skill in the future to construct new things and fix existing shelters and furniture and whatnot. So you can take your skill and your knowledge that you have, that you currently have, and maybe start looking at some old school woodworking techniques. Learn how to use some of the more primitive instruments, your hand saws, hand planers, and what. Instead of only knowing how to use a circular saw and a table saw and a power planer, maybe start experimenting and picking up some hand tools and become proficient with that. So you're taking a current skill that you have and adapting it so it is still useful and relevant in a collapse scenario where you don't have the infrastructure that we currently have. So those are some examples of knowledge and skills that you can trade in the form of labor or even instruction. Now let's take a look at some products that are renewable in nature. One example is worms. If you've taken a look at my channel, you've seen that I've got a bunch of videos up about worms. I've gotten into worms here recently, and I think they're a valuable asset to anybody who is interested in self-sufficiency. Worms have a number of uses themselves. You can use them for bait, they process waste, and in the garden they help aerate your garden. So worms have a variety of uses, and when they're processing that waste and they're breaking down that waste, they're turning what was a waste product of some sort, whether it be leftover table scraps or garden waste, yard waste, etc. And they're taking the waste and they're turning it into a valuable resource in the form of worm castings, which is a great organic fertilizer. And both the worms and the worm castings have a pretty good value in today's economy. Worms sell for anywhere between $20 and $30 a pound. And worm castings, off the top of my head, I want to say it's like $1 or $2 a pound. So those two products have value in today's economy. In a collapse scenario, more people are going to be trying to garden, and the resources or the infrastructure is not there for the chemical fertilizers and all of that. So people are going to have to turn to sustainable organic alternatives, and worm castings are great for that. So there's going to be probably even a bigger demand for worms and their castings in the event of a collapse. So I'm very fond of worms, and I am raising them. I started out with 10 pounds. I'm up to about 40 or 50 now. I'm trying to scale up because they have value today and they could have value in the future. And they have value even to me on my little urban homestead here, and in the form of sustainable gardening, just for myself and my family. So even if you take the dollars out of the equation. So that's an example there. Another example would be I'm trying to set up a forest garden currently. And I am far from an expert when it comes to gardening and plant matter in general. I'm not going to lie, I'm learning. And so when it comes to setting up my forest garden, I'm trying to also learn about different ways of propagating plants so that I can produce more plants. Learning about different grafting techniques and different root stocks for apple trees and what's good for my environment here, and trying to acquire all of this knowledge now. And that's useful and beneficial, again, in today's economy, because everybody's got to eat. Everybody's got to eat today, and people are going to have to eat after the collapse. A lot of people today are turning towards sustainable food. Maybe they're worried about the planet. Maybe they're worried about the future. Or maybe that's just their thing. But a lot of people are interested in sustainable food today, and it could become a necessity in the future. So if I've got my little food forest set up in my side yard, in my backyard, and I know how to propagate plants off of that, I can take cuttings and successfully grow thousands of plants from the plants that I already have in my food forest for my family and I, then that's a valuable skill. And it's a valuable skill today because I can sell those today. They have worth today in today's economy. And again, they're going to have even greater value in the future potentially. And that's a renewable resource, much like the worms. I failed to mention earlier, the worms are a renewable resource. They reproduce and whatnot. You take care of them, they'll continue to multiply. With the forest garden, learning how to propagate plants, you buy your plants once and you're done. As long as they're not trademarked and patented and all that jazz that you got to worry about today. So that's my take on bartering after collapse. Look at skills that are applicable in both today's economy and a future economy. Try and look at what you already have knowledge of and tweak it to be beneficial in both today's economy and in future economies. Don't just go out and learn something because you think it's going to be beneficial after collapse. Hopefully it's something that's tied to your current profession or interests and hobbies. Same goes for renewable resources. Pick something that you're interested in, something that you personally need, something that has value in today's economy and is renewable. Learn about that and think about how you can trade that in a future economy. That's all I've got on bartering. I would love to hear your comments. I am far from making any form of money on YouTube. Comments are what keeps me going. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. As always, I appreciate every like, every comment, and every subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.